Our story begins one fine day as the 2026 fantasy football season is right around the corner. The league is now active. Team names are being finalized. All that's left to know is the draft order. Somewhere within the confines of Ville Platte to Pine Prairie, a bearded yet balding man can be seen driving and listening to an odd tune. Ah yes, this here is the league's commissioner and also the defending champion, Jordan Veillard. As he continues to drive, he receives a text. He checks his phone and sees it's from Miller. Well, goddamn. Dude finally texted me back after days of not responding. But when he checked the message, Miller was in fact not responding to Veillard's previous message. Instead, it was an idea for where he thinks we should draft, since he and a couple of the other mates hate driving to Pine Prairie, you know, 'cause it's so far away, right? In the text, Miller stated that there is a cool mansion that allows fantasy players to come and host their drafts. He sent pictures of the place, and it looked really cool. He stated that he had already talked to the rest of the guys, and they think it's a great idea as well. Miller then sends the address, and so Veillard, along with his beautiful championship belt, took off towards the new draft spot as the league's anthem song played away. Eventually, after some time of driving, finally Veillard arrived. As he pulls in, he sees everyone else's vehicles were parked, and it appears as he is the last to arrive. He then heads in and is greeted at the door by all the league's members. There was Miller, Caleb, Bastion, Josh, Drew, Casey, Tim, Brett, Adam, Cameron, and even Blade, unfortunately. The mates then began their typical banter. Jordan and Blade are bragging about who's the best. Bastion and Adam is arguing over Tua and how good is he really. As their father Tim, he's trying to manage both sons' temperament. Brett's not paying attention. Cameron is asking about the food. Casey is drunk. Josh and Miller is looking at the time because they are ready to be done with the draft and get the oh so miserable drive back over with. And Caleb, well, Caleb just listens to all the commotion and does his best to navigate the retardation. All of a sudden, Miller stands up and then states that he has one final trick up his sleeve about the draft order. And then in walks Drew Brees. Miller then states that Brees will be revealing the league's draft order. The whole league erupts in joy, except Blade, cause he's a bitch-ass Cowboy fan. Anyways, everyone eventually settles down and takes their seats, eager to hear their name called by Drew Brees. Brees then began to start revealing the order when suddenly all the lights go out. Everyone gasps. After around 30 seconds or so, the lights come back on, and an overwhelming amount of screaming filled the room as Drew Brees was now seen laying on the floor with his throat slit open, gasping for air. He attempts to speak, but all that can be heard is gurgling as he eventually passes away. Chaos then ensued the room. Everyone is panicking, running around like crazy, wondering who the hell just killed Drew Brees. Well, except Casey, who continued to just drink his beer. The league then began to suspect Casey as the possible killer. I mean, How the hell was he so calm? Finally, Caleb speaks up and says what everyone is thinking.
Man, it's got to be Casey. Look how nonchalant he is about this. No way you couldn't be freaking out right now, unless you were the killer.
Casey stands there with a stern look on his face when suddenly he sips his beer. He's pondering, wondering what to say. He probably can't even spell pondering or even knows what that word means. But he's got to be careful. His next few words may indict him. Finally, he goes to speak.
I'm just drunk, guys. I have no idea what the hell is going on.
Blade then speaks up.
Yeah, that's what a murderer would use as an excuse. I'm not convinced it's not Casey.
Then Vayal spoke.
Well, hold on, Blade. You a Cowboy fan. Wouldn't you be the main suspect?
The whole league then begins to argue and point fingers at who did it. Caleb then attempts to settle things down.
Alright, everybody calm your tits. No point in trying to point the finger without any real evidence. We are all suspects at this point. Brett, go ahead and call 911. Tell them we need the police over here right now. There's been a murder.
Brett then goes to use the phone. He tries to make the call, but the service isn't working. Caleb then says,
well, shit. Okay, everybody in a line. We're gonna go together downstairs and outside where we can maybe get some service.
Everyone agrees as they begin to make their way downstairs through the mansion. They eventually make their way to the front entry of the house, but then the lights go out once again, this time seemingly longer than before. Stab noises and grunts can be heard. Everyone is panicking again, screaming in chaos. The lights then come back on and Caleb can be seen lying on the ground in a pool of blood, stab marks covering his body. Tim, freaking the fuck out, yells and says,
I'm getting the hell out of here. I don't like fantasy football this much.
He then attempts to open the door and is greeted with the realization that the door was locked. Everyone begins to run around in a frantic frenzy. Josh is asking everyone to stay together, but everyone ran off as he now is left with Caleb's lifeless body. Josh then says,
fuck, bruh. Why the hell I'm stuck with the body? Well, I can't just leave him here.
Josh then picks up Caleb and carries him to a nearby room and lays Caleb on a bed. Josh then said,
I'm sorry, Caleb. We're gonna have to figure out who the hell did this to you. But I promise, we will figure it out.
Suddenly, a noise is heard by Josh, and he turns around and is greeted with a knife straight to his heart. Josh grunts as the realization of his impending death was filling his body. Just as he was beginning to fade, he says,
it was you? Why, bruh?
As his lifeless body collapsed. Our view then shifts to Brett, who can be seen shaking as he wanders around the mansion, wondering if this house will be his grave. Then out of nowhere, he runs into Cameron, who is immediately defensive.
Stay the fuck back from me,
Cameron yells. Brett responds,
whoa, dude, I'm not the killer. I'm just looking for a way to get out of this place. The only problem is, not only are all the doors locked, but all the windows are barred shut.
Cameron responds,
I don't know who to trust right now. But I guess if you were the killer, I assume you would have just killed me already.
Brett responds.
Exactly. How the hell I'm gonna kill someone? Look how tiny I am.
Cameron responds.
Fair point. Let's me and you stick together.
The two of them then began to travel around the mansion together. After some time, they rounded the corner and BAM! Brett is struck in the head with what looks to be a baseball bat. He is immediately knocked unconscious. Cameron screams in fear and begins to run away. Looking over his shoulder, he sees who the killer is.
What the actual fuck? I don't understand.
He continues to run, trying to avoid the killer, when suddenly he stepped on a bear trap. He is then brought to the ground from the agony, grabbing at the trap now. Lashed to his leg, he attempts to pry it open when out of nowhere, a knife is shoved straight into his eye. He struggles for a bit, and then eventually succumbs to his damage and dies. We then pan to Casey, who of course is still drinking beer. He wanders around and eventually he sees someone lying on the ground. He drunk stumbles towards the person he sees. It's Brett. Casey then attempts to check for a pulse. He mumbles to himself.
I'm kinda fucked up, but I think I feel a pulse.
He then attempts to shake Brett's unconscious body, but he's not waking up. He then goes to take a sip of his beer and realizes he's finished with the bottle. He then states,
well, I know how to fuck I'm gonna get out of here, but at least I know where my beer is.
He then begins to make his way to the dining area where he stored his beer. He eventually makes his way to it and sees the fridge.
Fuck yeah,
he yells. He then opens the fridge door and begins to reach inside the fridge, all the way towards the back where the beer was stored. And then boom! The fridge door began to close on his neck, choking the life out of him. He can feel someone shoving the door into his neck in order to take his life. He continues to struggle for a while, but he is realizing his doom. He thinks to himself,
well, at least I got to die happy and drunk,
as he eventually suffocates to death. One by one, we are now watching this league's members get picked off. What started as a night of fun has now turned into a slasher movie. Speaking of the league, we can now see Vayon. He can be seen walking the halls, still trying to get servers to call for help. He then comes across the draft room. He thinks to himself,
wonder if I can find any clues,
as this is the start of this whole pandemonium. He enters, slowly sifting through the room, looking for anything that could tell him just who could be doing all this. He looks near the draft board where he can see Drew Brees' lifeless corpse remaining. He then takes a good look at the draft board and thinks to himself,
is all this my fault? I should have just told Miller, fuck you. You and Josh gotta suck it up and drive to Pine Prairie.
He then takes a closer look at the back of the draft board and notices something attached to the back of the board with a timer.
The hell is this?
He asked. Then boom, the room door randomly shuts. He rushes to the door, trying to push it open, but it seems to be locked. He attempts to bang on the door, screaming for help, and then boom, the draft board explodes as the room begins to fill with flames. His skin beginning to melt, barely clinging on to his life. He thinks to himself,
fuck, Blaze gonna outlive me. That motherfucker, He beat me again.
As he yells in agony, and the flames consume his full body. Next, we can now see what appears to be Adam and Bastion traveling together, arguing, obviously. Both exchange words of banter on why the other is an idiot and so on. They continue to walk, and out of nowhere, they are each shot with a sleeping dart. They both quickly drop to their knees and eventually pass out. The scene goes black and then reappears as both Adam and Bastion can now be seen in what looks like an electric chair, both strapped down too tightly to move at all. Then the TV in the room randomly comes on. A shadowy figure can be seen on the TV, but both Adam and Bastion are incapable of making out who the shadowy figure is. The shadowy figure then spoke, but appears to be using a voice manipulator. He tells them,
I want to play a game. Both of you boys never seem to be able to agree to anything. All you do is argue. Well, today, all y'all arguing comes to a head. And now, we'll decide y'all fate. I will provide you both with a single topic, and you must debate your case. Whoever wins gets to live. Whoever loses will be shocked at the consequences. Let the game begin. The topic is, how good is Tua? You have 3 minutes. Go.
Both Adam and Bastion begin to make their cases. Bastion is saying Tua is elite. Adam is saying Tua is some butt. Both trying to argue their case, then the timer goes off. Both Adam and Bastion sit in silence, not knowing who won and who will be killed. Then boom! Lightning begins to run its course all through Bastion's body, shaking and clenching his jaws, still trying to yell out that Tua is elite until finally he dies a shameful death. Adam, now celebrating his victory, begins to boast about his knowledge of what an elite quarterback is. Next thing you know, the shadowy figure is no longer pictured on the screen, and footsteps can be heard, inching closer. The shadowy figure then appears. Adam, taken back by his sight, goes to speak. You? Boom! A gunshot strikes Adam in the head, and he too is now dead. Blade is now who the audience gazes upon. He walks the halls thinking to himself,
I bet it's fucking Van here. Motherfucker said, now that I won the league, ain't nobody else about to win it.
He continues to walk and begins to smell what seems like the smell of a fire. He begins to follow the smell until he finally reaches the draft room.
What the fuck? There was a goddamn fire in here. That's bad, yeah.
He then attempts to kick the door in, kicking until finally he's able to breach the door.
Holy fuck,
he gasps. He then enters the room to see what the hell happened when suddenly he trips over Vail's lifeless burnt body and stumbles into a shard of wood sticking out from where the draft board used to be, stabbing him in the head and ultimately dying, thanks to Vail. Poetic justice at its finest. We now look at Drew and Miller, for the first time, and they are getting high as fuck. They are both just laid out on the ground, laughing and giggling while smoking some of the devil's lettuce. The smell of skunk filling the room that they occupied. Drew then turns to Miller. Hey bro, got some fire ass acid. You want some? Miller responds, I mean, is it the brightest idea to trip balls while there's a killer on the loose? Probably not. But I didn't get here today with making smart decisions. Anyway, fuck it. Both little dope heads begin to partake in the tripping of balls. High as giraffe's pussy, they begin to hallucinate, not knowing what is real and what is just the drugs. A figure begins to approach them as they are too high to get up or even care at this point. The figure then begins to become more clear as what looked to be Art the Clown. The boys look at each other, first in concern, then they erupt in laughter. Miller says,
Dog, what the fuck? Art the Clown? This shit got me seeing some fucked up stuff.
Drew then wipes his eyes to clear them and make sure he's seeing what he thinks he's seeing. His laughter then shifted back to concern as he turns to Miller to tell him,
That's not Art the Clown.
The killer snaps Drew's neck. Miller, now realizing the danger he's in, begins to run away. He begins to actually slip away from the killer, surprisingly, as he thinks to himself,
All that cardio finally paying off. I gotta go get some help though.
He continues to run, yelling for help, and then boom, he runs smack into Tim. They crash to the ground and both grab at their heads in pain. Around the corner, from the opposite direction of where the killer was chasing Miller, stumbles Brett, asking for help. Tim and Miller yell out to Brett, Over here! Brett stumbles towards Tim and Miller, severely concussed. Tim and Miller make their way to their feet in order to greet Brett. Miller then says,
I don't know where the killer went, but he chased me here. I must have lost him.
Then out of nowhere, shh! Everything goes silent. Everything appears to be moving in slow motion. Then Miller's neck slowly begins to open from what appears to be a slit of his throat. The camera pans back to see Brett's hand holding the blade, still wet with Miller's blood, as Miller falls to the ground, gurgling. Tim yells,
What the fuck, Brett? Why? Why are you doing all this? Why are you killing all your friends?
Brett stands there silently, but menacingly grinning.
You know what's funny, Tim?
Tim responds,
What, you bastard? What can possibly be funny about all this? You killed everyone.
Brett responds,
Ah, you see, Timmy boy? That's the funny part. The only person that I killed by my hands was Miller. And truth be told, I only did it because of how he acted in my fantasy basketball league last year.
Tim responds,
What? What do you mean Miller is the only one you killed? What about Vayon, Adam, Bashan, my sons, Blade?
Brett responds,
Well, honestly, I had nothing to do with that. Especially Blade. He technically died by his own doing, tripping over Vayon's burnt corpse.
Tim responds,
What about everybody else?
A slow clap begins to sound off in the distance, and footsteps draw closer. The figure can't yet be made out on who it is. But then a voice begins to speak.
Man, you know damn well there is usually 2 people in these kind of movies in order to pull all this shit off.
Time freezes, and slowly the face of Caleb appears. Tim then says,
What the hell? We thought you were fucking dead. How are you alive?
Caleb responds,
Foolish Timmy. That was all an act to get you to believe I was dead and couldn't possibly be the killer. I had Brett stab me, yes, but he made sure not to hit any vital spots. Small price to pay to get my revenge.
Tim responds,
Your revenge? Your revenge for what?
Caleb responds,
All those years, Timothy. All those years where I had the #1 pick, and I swear to God, every year I get fucked over. Either my guy sits out all season for a contract that everyone says, oh, he's still gonna play, take him. Or I get the consensus #1 pick, and he gets fucking injured or doesn't play like he's supposed to. I'm sick of it. So I came up with a plan. Kill everybody in the league and put an end to this dumb shit. It's over.
Tim responds,
That's so childish.
Bow! A gunshot rings as Tim then falls lifelessly to the ground. Brett then speaks.
Well, that kinda went even better than I expected. I can't believe we got away with this.
Brett begins to laugh.
Well, we should probably get out of here, huh?
Brett then begins to walk off when suddenly he is grabbed by Caleb. Brett tries to fight his way out, but Caleb was too strong. Caleb then powerbombs Brett to the ground, shoves his foot into Brett's neck, choking him as he eventually stops struggling. And all that remains is Caleb. Caleb stands admiring his victory as a close-up shot of Caleb's face is shown. He responds, breaking the 4th wall.
Man, how you expected this to end? All the slasher movies suck at creating good motives and perfectly wrapping this thing up right, and fuck that. Get the fuck.
The end. The final draft order goes as this. With the 12th pick, Joshua, Cameron, Casey, Jordan, Bastion, Adam, Blade, Drew, Miller, Tim, Brett, and then Caleb with the 1st pick.